guys? We're back again with another episode of our Marvel Legends series review with, y'all know who it is, Venom. So, yeah guys, it's only natural that we do Venom today because last time we did Carnage. And if you think about it, it's kind of messed up because that's a reverse order of things in the comics. But if we look at the PS4 and Xbox One games based on the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie, they did it in reverse as well, so whatever, right? Anyways, this guy is huge. Let me just straighten this guy's legs out for you. Like, I'll give you some size comparisons later, but this guy is done right. Sorry, Eric Foreman, but you just could not cut it as Eddie Brock / Venom. This is how Venom should be. Mind you, he's a little bit more roided out than you probably would find in an actual movie. What's going on with that Sony Venom spin-off movie, by the way? I don't know. They're back and forth with that thing. But anyways, this guy does not disappoint aesthetically at all. I mean, aside from the frozen face here, which is kind of like soft, just because of the gimmick they have here when you press the back of the figure like this with the button. Let me zoom in here so you can see. See, it slightly moves like that. Nothing too crazy. Maybe it would have been better on a Carnage figure like this. Don't get me wrong. I'm so happy that they didn't put something like this on the Marvel Legends Infinite Series Carnage because it really limits articulation in the figure. But yeah, he's just awesome. I do have some minor complaints, and I will say that this probably is not my favorite Venom figure. I know it is for a lot of people, and we'll get to why. We'll touch base on that. Don't worry. But yeah, let's take a look at this guy close up, man. What the heck is going on with this thing here? It looks like they just kind of skimped out like it was Friday at the office, and they're like, screw it, I'm going bowling tonight, beer and wings. And they just kind of was like, yeah, they skimped out on the, what do you call it, the mandibles, the pincers of the actual Venom logo here. It looks a little weird, but I mean, the rest of it's pretty much on par with what we see in the comics. If you're wondering what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to line it up, but the joint doesn't look like he wants to sit perfectly straight, so there we go. That's a little better, right? Yeah. So, looking at the teeth and everything here, it's pretty good. I mean, the paint, it is an older figure. Yeah, it is an older figure, so, I mean, that's kind of, I guess, the reason the paint doesn't look as fresh, if you want to call it that, as it does on the Carnage. I mean, they probably, undoubtedly, they use an iridescent kind of paint for Carnage's eyes, unlike this one here, which, again, it's more of a, let me see if I can get the actual... See, you can. It's more of a pliable plastic, squishy kind of thing. Squishy. It's kind of cool though, because I mean, you always see on the internet. I don't know if you've ever went into Google Images and just Googled Venom wallpapers or anything. I have, but you always see the Venom symbiote have this crazy crooked smile. Shout out to J. Cole. And they captured that beautifully with this. It just goes I mean, if it went any further, it would just look kind of weird, some kind of raw. Some dog ate his face, but yeah, the teeth aren't bad. I mean, again, this is an older Spider-Man Classics figure, but they're not bad. I do like the tongue. They could have went with a bright pink, awful looking tongue, but this tongue actually has you can probably see it. It looks like a salamander or something with the way it's speckled and beveled and everything. And they got some paint drips with the green here. I would have really liked the mouth to be able to close though. That's one point. That kind of takes away from this figure for me. But aside from that, the rest of his build and body is just pretty perfect. I mean, he's got little tips of gray, steel blue kind of thing going on mixed in with the black there. And this is me just being a fanboy here. He does not have the white patches on the top of his wrists here for those web shooters. He's got veins. But again, it was probably Friday at the office and they kind of skimped out on that. So, it is what it is. Again, with the back, they kind of did that weird thing with the pincer again. I guess they had to save money and just kind of copy the mold or the paint apps or whatever. And this thing is just an eyesore. Come on, man. You almost had a perfect Venom logo back here. You're going to go mess it up with this thing? Who really needs this thing? You can't even really see it. It just kind of looks like I don't know. Now, for the Venom figure this big, for a Marvel Legend / Spider-Man Classic thing, the articulation could have been unmatched, but the fact that the head cannot do anything due to that gimmick, I'm guessing it's a big plastic rod just going straight from the back right through the head. I bet if we popped this off, you'd see something like that. But that just limits the rating on the articulation that I can give it. Aside from that, let's check him out, because this guy, you know, he does deserve that, regardless of the head. So, like, his waist is pretty mobile. It's kind of like a blender. You don't want to do that too much, because it's probably going to fly off or something, but get really loose. Like I said, it's a little, you can match him up with the abs and the chest there to have a perfect looking logo, but it is a little harder than you would think. As for the shoulders, he's got big ball shoulders right there. They do move in and out. They're not as stiff as the Carnage that I just reviewed last episode, or Spider-Man. This part is, though, however, the part where the bicep swivels, and that's another thing. I'm so glad they put the bicep swivel in. Now again, because, you know, it's a bigger figure, he doesn't have that shoulder adduction here as much as the smaller figures do, but they did throw it in, so, you know, they didn't leave it out. Better than nothing. He does have elbow flexion. Again, with his huge ass arms, bicep, tricep, arms. He only gets that much elbow flexion, but that's alright. And the sickest thing about this guy is, you know, like not the Carnage that was released for the movie, but the one we also took a look at last time, the older version, all of his fingers are have their own articulation, except the thumb. For example, he can do this. He can even give you, you know, he can flip you off if need be. He can almost mimic a web flipping pose, like so. That's pretty cool. And if he wants to be fancy and drink some tea, he can also raise his pinky. Alright, so now for his legs. They are pretty mobile. He can kick up about this much. And again, look at that nice paint shading and everything. It's pretty nice. It catches the light where it needs to and gives you a nice, more colorful characteristic to the figure rather than the drab black. Anyways, he has that much donkey kick. Not as much because this guy has huge hamstrings at the back here. He also has in and out motion for his hip there. He's got double jointed knees as well, which is nice for... I'm struggling to kind of flip it down there. Which is nice for a figure this big. His knee isn't too bony, so we all know he's not anorexic. And he's got that toe articulation as well as ankle too. And I believe he does have a little bit of an ankle pivot, but it's weird. It's different on both legs. Like this one's a little harder for me. That was the left leg, his left leg. Alright. And for this leg, you see, it's a little easier to get that pivot. So I don't know if that was, you know, something quality control overlooked or something. Friday at the office. But, yeah, pretty good in terms of articulation, except for the head. Before I get to some comparisons, I just wanted to show you guys the other gimmick he comes with. I think it's called the Symbiote Blast Venom or something. So you basically just put that in there. It's kind of like skewed now because of the years, how it has been over years. But it's like a little Venom thing. Not even a pseudopod that comes off the symbiote, but like a mini Venom face. And you see these things here, you would attach it to either one of his arms and then pretty much just press this button for this to fire. Alright, so now for the fun part. Believe it or not, as I zoom out here, this one here, and if you're wondering why it's missing a leg, it's because the day I had this thing. You know, I had this thing for all throughout my childhood and all throughout my teenage years. And the day I finally decided to put this guy on display on one of my top shelves, he falls off and his leg just gets mushed, damaged. And that sucked big time. But anyways, I'm going to take him off the stand for a second just so you guys can get a closer look at him. You can see, like, you know, like any kid, I had a bit of wear on my toys. But this thing used to be my favorite action figure I had in the 90s. Like, it was based on the animated series from the 90s, and it had a gimmick, but it didn't really hinder any of the, if you want to call it, articulation we had at the time. All you did was, you took his legs, and you squeezed them. And it's kind of cool. I mean, he kind of looks like a fish, or an eel head or something, but like, it, you know, for what it was at the time, I thought this thing was the world. I thought it was cool. But now that we got this one, it's definitely a step up. Okay, so now for another size comparison, here we got the Marvel Legends Spider-Man Classics Venom next to the Marvel Select Venom, and this is probably my favorite Venom figure. And I will show this Venom figure here, side by side next to some other Spider-Man Classics / Marvel Legends at the end of the video like usual, but I just wanted to say that, you know, this guy, I have this guy in my Spider-Man, my Primo Spider-Man display over this one here. And that's because, you know, Venom, you never really have him standing straight anyways. So, if you bend this guy's legs like this, they're pretty much, you know, almost the same in height. This guy's definitely more roided out, but I think that it kind of syncs well with this guy here, just because if you have him in a crouch position, like I said, it bounces up pretty nicely, and his head isn't freakishly big. Neither is his smile. And you get interchangeable heads with this one. If you haven't checked out my review on this guy, check it out. I probably will post a re-review on it. So here he is next to his son, if you want to call him that, Carnage. And here they both are next to their arch nemesis, Spider-Man. So would I recommend picking this guy up? I would say he's not a necessity, especially for your Spider-Man collection, because now that they have re-released the Marvel Select Venom, I would say that's the better buy at what, $22 or so, rather than hunting this guy down for what does he go for nowadays? Like, whoops, he goes for like what, 40, 50 bucks? And for a 6-inch figure, that's a bit steep of a price, especially when it's, you know, it is Venom. So if you are crazy about Venom, I'd say go ahead. But again, I think this Marvel Select Venom here is probably your best bet. So guys, that was my review on Marvel Legends Spider-Man Classics Venom. Don't forget to smash that like button out of the park if you want to see more of what you saw here. Until next time, peace.